What's fussier than a calathea and looks like a tree? It's the Pleurodendra elegantissima Olympia, or the Olympia false Aralia. In this video, I'm going to share my experience with the Olympia false Aralia, some of its basic care requirements, and also show you how I pot and repot my own Aralia and where it's going to live in my house. I had bought an Olympia about 11 months ago now. It first appeared on my channel in my August 2018 plant haul. And in February, it took a really fast turn for the worse. And it did take me quite a while to understand what happened to it. Now it has one surviving trunk. And I've found another Aralia that I'm going to grow with the original in the hope that I can unite them all into one pot once they're more established. So let's talk about some care tips. As far as light, look at that root system here. I'm going to get to that. This is what's left after root rot. So just keep that in mind. We're going to talk about water requirements in 1 second. It does really well in bright, indirect light. They can be kept even in medium light, but they won't grow as quickly without that bright, indirect light. They'll grow very slowly. And the thing is that these are really small plants, as you can tell right now. However, they grow between 4 and 6 feet tall at maturity, so they're a pretty good sized tree indoors. Now let's talk about watering. I just kind of drew your attention to the root system on my original Aralia. There you see it. You see how shallow it is. The Aralia, this one comes from a mesic environment. That means it has medium water needs, which is actually more difficult than it sounds. It likes to be moist but not wet, and from my own experience, it is extremely sensitive to underwatering and also even more sensitive to overwatering. So they'd rather be too dry than too wet. So you really want to make sure that you check your potting mix very thoroughly before you water, making sure you've let at least the top few inches dry between waterings. And I'm pretty sure that the first 2 trunks died back due to root rot. And I also believe that this existing trunk barely survived root rot. And as somebody who's got quite a few fussy tropical plants, this is fussier than anything I've had before, actually. And like most tropicals, along with having these kind of watering needs, and I would, because it's tropical, use filtered water when I water it as well. It does also like to enjoy a balanced, humid climate. And again, most tropical plants like that. That's what they enjoy. When it comes to soil or to your potting mix, they like it to be slightly acidic to neutral. And I do amend my soil for all of the tropicals in my house with a lot of perlite, as you can see. I want to make sure it's very fast draining because, again, they do not like to be wet. As far as temperature goes, I live in a pretty temperate climate as it is. And so my house is between 68 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit year round. And outdoors, the USDA has rated this Aralia for plant hardiness at 11. And that means that it doesn't want to be in temperatures colder than 40 degrees. So absolutely doesn't want to be in a frost, and it doesn't want to be in a draft either. So inside of your house, you probably want to make sure that you don't have this directly under an air conditioning vent, so it's not getting any kind of cold air just blowing on it continuously. There's also the issue of fertilizer, and they can be sensitive to fertilizer. Again, a lot of tropical plants tend to be. I do fertilize my Aralia a lot less often than any of the other plants in my house. And moving forward, as you see me repotting these, and I do want you to pay attention, if you look here, these newer Aralia that I picked up, one of the trunks was already gone. And I'm pretty sure, when I bought it, that was due to overwatering. And the root system on the other 2 surviving Aralia, that you see me potting here, they're much more extensive than in that original. So again, just keep in mind what you saw in that first plant is not a very good example of what the root system actually looks like on a healthy Aralia. So back to fertilizer. I rarely fertilize this plant. They are sensitive. You definitely would want to dilute any fertilizer, especially a non-organic fertilizer. And what I plan to do moving forward, because I've noticed how sensitive these plants are, and that's my experience, so take that with a grain of salt. For me, they've been pretty tricky. I'm probably just going to top dress them. And so what that means is that in the soil right now, I've mixed in some worm castings and some other kind of denser nutrients for the plant. And instead of fertilizing moving forward, I will likely sprinkle some worm castings, get a good layer around their soil, and then water through it. And that's how I'll get them additional nutrients in the future, because they're really sensitive. And so here, what you can see me doing is I'm just going ahead and getting this last one into its pot. They're fairly easy to pot up. I have a really bad habit of putting my plants in bigger pots than honestly I really should. I get away with it because with my other plants, I'm really good at understanding the kind of watering needs that they have. With the Aralia, again, I have found them to be so sensitive that I'm really careful. And so I'm putting them into very small individual pots. And that way I know it's a lot easier for me to control the moisture in the pot when it's this small. And so there we go. I've got my last one potted. Success. And I love these pots, these geometric pots that I got. I give each a good thorough watering once I've got them into the soil. The soil is really dry. And here's where they're going to live. So I wanted to share that with you. They get bright indirect light here. It's pretty close to an eastern window. And this is my plant shelf. They're on the 4th shelf if you've seen that video. If not, check it out. And I hope they're happy here. Until next time, be well and take care.